All right, here's the answer to question 4 of discussion 8. So we're going to find the slope and the linear equation for these 2 points. Okay. These are 2 points on a line, in fact. Okay? These are 2 points on a line. It's our task to get the linear equation, so we need to find the parts of the linear equation that we need, and we find the slope. Well, it just so happens we need to find the slope in order to start to fill in the parts of the linear equation that we need. And remember, for a linear equation, when you have a completed equation, the y is still y. You have a number that goes where the m is. The x is still x. And then there's a number that goes where the b is. That's what we're going to shoot for. Our equation has to look like this. But it can't just be any numbers that we put in for m and b. It has to be numbers that are related to the line. And these are points on the line. So these points give us enough information that we can find m, which is the slope, and we can find b, which is the y-intercept, as we have talked about a few times now. B is y-intercept, which means it's the point on the line that crosses the y-axis. Using the slope equation, which I'm guessing and assuming everyone has already run into, we can calculate slope using 2 points. So this equation, y2 minus y1, refers to, this is an x-coordinate, this is a y-coordinate, this is an x-coordinate, and this is a y-coordinate. Okay. But you label it. This is the first point, so this is y1 and x1 and y1. This is the second point, so it's x2, y2. Doesn't matter whether you call this the first point and that the second point, but I'm just going to keep it in order. Okay, so our y2 value then is the 8, and we're going to subtract 8. Make sure that's minus, and that's the x2 value goes underneath. So be careful when you're doing this. Put the right numbers in the right spots. This x2 value is this here, so that goes here. And that's still subtract. Now let's put in the y1 value, which is negative 8. So we have a negative 8, and yes, that is 8 minus 8. And then we'll put in the x1 value, which is minus 2, and that makes it minus 2. You are allowed to use a calculator on the tests, so I would just plug this into the calculator. 8 minus 8. Unless you're really good at you doing integers, you add the opposite, which then this becomes 16. And you add the opposite again, add the opposite, and that becomes 4. And then you reduce, of course. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So the slope is 4. But remember, slope is rise over run. So you put the 4 over 1. So it makes sense in your on your graph. In rise, remember, it goes up. Run goes this way. So that's a way to help remember why the y's are first. The y's are in the numerator of the fraction because y is the up and down or vertical axis. So rise is on top. The x is on the bottom because the run is the horizontal direction, and that is in the denominator. Alright, that's a way to remember that it's y2 minus y1 in the numerator of this division, and x2 minus x1 is in the denominator. Okay, so we calculated slope. Slope is 4. So when we put slope into our equation, we have one piece of our equation now, m. So we just put the 4. We're not going to need to have 4 over 1 here. We still have to calculate a b. We're still having to do that because we don't know our y-intercept. But here's a little magic trick. We have values for x and y because remember, these are parts of a coordinate. These are x, that's a parenthesis, x and y. It's a point on the line. This x and this y, put it into the coordinate format. This is a point on the line. Well, we have 2 points on the line. Look at that. So we have values for x and y. Let's keep it simple, of course, and use the positive values. I don't want to mess with negatives if I don't have to. So I'm going to use this point 2, 8. And I'm going to plug the value of 2 in for x, because x is 2. I'm going to plug in the 8 for the value of y. So let's do that. 8 equals, and we'll leave our slope alone. And then we'll plug in a value of x, well, the value for that point, which is 2, times 2. And we have a b. We still have a b that we don't know, but we're solving for b. Once again, because we're really good at algebra now, right? Okay. 4 times 2 is 8, so 8 equals 8 plus b. All right. We want to move this 8 here with the other 8, with the like term. So it's added, or this is a positive 8, so we subtract 8 from both sides. Oh my gosh, what happens? We get a 0 on both sides, but that's okay. 0 equals b. Our y-intercept then equals 0. Well, that's interesting, but we can look at that. There's nothing wrong with that. So our slope came out to be 4. Our linear equation came out to be y equals 4x plus 0, which really means y equal 4x. So let me clear this, and we'll look at that, how that looks if we plot it. Y equal 4x. We still use our little magic table here, x and y. We can plug in any values we want, and we can draw a line. X is 1. When x is 1, y is 4. X is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. When x is negative 1, 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. When x is negative 2, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. So let's look at these points. Ooh, those look familiar. 2, 8, negative 2, negative 8. Those were the ones we were given. All right, let's make a few tick marks out here and start plotting points. When x is 1, so we start in the middle, go positive 1, and then y is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our point is roughly there. There's one of our points. 2, 8, positive 2, positive 8. I only put 8 tick marks on here. And once again, this is a rough line. So negative 1, negative 4, so negative 1, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 2, negative 8, negative 2, down here at 8. What's happening here is when x is 0, we'll get the y-intercept. So when x is 0, y equals 0, because you plug in the value for 0, and you get 4 times 0, which is 0. So where so 0, 0 becomes both the y-intercept and the x-intercept. This is a line that goes through the point of origin of the graph. In other words, where the y-axis crosses the x-axis, these two cross, that's actually a point on the line as well. And when the line goes through that middle point, then both the x-intercept and the y-intercept equal 0.